Hi guys, it's Josh Lloyd here for an NBA DraftKings first look for Thursday across the NBA. 9 games on a very busy Thursday. Let's take a look at those games. Before I do it though, hit the notification bell, hit the thumbs up, and leave your comments down below. All right, first game, Clippers and Hornets. Still no Serge Ibaka for the Clippers. No surprise there. While the Hornets will be without Miles Bridges, they'll also be without Gordon Hayward. Not a shock there. Caleb Martin is questionable for Charlotte. Cody Martin is out once again. In terms of where the value lies, it's not a huge amount that I like here. Nick Batum is very cheap. He's at 3,800 and he has been playing okay. 23 average over the last 3, but I don't feel particularly good about it. I do like Zubats because centers going up against the Hornets generally have a pretty good run at things, and he's at 5,000. He had 39 in the last game. So there's at least something there. Kawhi's been underperforming. I'm not super keen on him. Same with Paul George at 8,700. Devontae Graham had a nice game last time out, but do I trust that? I don't think so. And he's at 5,900. Maybe one of the most trustworthy guys is Terry Rozier, but he's prone to some inconsistency. He is still averaging 41 over the last 5, which at 7,700 gets it done. I don't want to spend 8,500 on LaMelo Ball. I do think that PJ Washington at 74 is all right. I think that's a pretty good option. But overall, this game, it just smells a little bit. There's not a huge amount to love, I don't think, from a DFS perspective in this Clippers-Hornets game. The Clippers are 8-point favorites, and the total here is 224. The second game is the Milwaukee Bucks. They are taking on the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers, no Brogdon, no Lamb. We don't know about Aaron Holiday. He is questionable still. So it could be Aaron Holiday, it could be Justin Holiday. We know Ed Sumner is out, so he won't be starting in place of Brogdon. Giannis is at 10,900. That looks pretty good to me. Yeah, Giannis obviously excellent, and the Bucks need to keep winning to make sure they can push the Nets for that number 2 slot. While Karis LeVert at 8,900, with the guys that are out, LeVert's going to handle the ball and get a ton, probably a 50-point option there. And same with Sabonis, who's all the way up at 10.7. But look at what he's been doing. These recent games from DeMontis have been excellent. 59, 72, 75, 55. So 10.7 I think is a pretty reasonable price, and I think you can beat that. DiVincenzo at 54, also playing at a high level. His lowest score over his last 5 has been 28, which is obviously good at 5,400. I'm not keen on Holiday or Middleton. That's Drew Holiday. Although his last 3 against Indiana have yielded 52 per contest in just 29 minutes. So that is something worth looking at if you're going to buy into brother versus brother narratives. Maybe Drew is a guy you look at. I wouldn't be too excited about that. Bob Portis at 5,200, probably not one that I'm going to be keenly investing in. The next one is the Orlando Magic and the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks on a back-to-back, but they did just clinch themselves a playoff spot on Wednesday. They are favored by a massive 12.5, and the total is 228. DeAndre Hunter should return in this game after resting on Tuesday, while Mo Bamba is currently listed as questionable for the Magic. But with Wendell Carter Jr. out, it does limit his value. He's at 7,300 Bamba. I wouldn't want to spend that with Carter around. Trae Young's at 9,100, and really the only thing that's holding him back here is the matchup and the blowout risk, but I still think he's worth it. And I love the fact that John Collins is only 6,700. Last 2 games from John have been pretty solid. Same with Bogdan Bogdanovic at 7,500. All those guys have value. RJ Hampton's at 59. You're probably just an inch too far from me. Probably not interested in that one. Dwayne Bacon at 52 is also probably just a little bit too high, while Mo Wagner is all the way up at 5,700 because last game he dropped 37. I do not trust Mo Wagner to be a 28 fantasy point per game player, not in the slightest, so I wouldn't use him. Cole Anthony's a risky play, and Iggy Brazdeikis at 37 at least have some upside because there's been games where he has played more minutes than Mo Wagner and has produced at a decent enough level. Far from a lock, though, of course, but he is someone that we can take a look at. Philadelphia and Miami is the next game that we take a look at. This one, still a few statuses we need to pay attention to. Importantly, Jimmy Butler is questionable and Joel Embiid is questionable. Now, if Butler is out, we look at Dragic, Hero, and Nunn to improve their value. If Embiid is out, Harris, Simmons, Dwight Howard, get that boost. Even prison Mike Scott, although I don't really like him from a DFS perspective. Butler's at 8,800 against his former team. I think he's good for 40 if he plays as a minimum, so he's absolutely an option for us. While Tobias Harris at 7,300 works if Embiid is out. Embiid's at 10.4. I reckon they go pretty easy on him regardless. I don't think I'd want to use too much of Joel in that situation. While Kendrick Nunn at 52 would, I think, become a really strong option if Jimmy Butler does happen to be sidelined. I'd also use Dunk Robinson and Tyler Hero at their respective prices, 55 and 4,900 for the two of those guys, if Butler does in fact happen to be sidelined. Not much else, I don't think, from a Philadelphia perspective. Seth Curry doesn't really do it for me, nor does Danny Green. The Spurs and the Knicks. This is a back-to-back for San Antonio, taking on the Knicks, who have recently clinched themselves a playoff berth. Bunch of questionable players. Quickly, Rose, Bullock, and Burks are all listed as questionable. Obviously, all of those are guards. So if they are all out, I don't know what they do. Do they play 48 minutes of Alfred Payton? Do they have to play 30 minutes of Kevin Knox, pushing RJ Barrett down to the 2? There's a lot of guys. That's a lot of guards who are out. Keldon Johnson's at 4,500. Last game from Keldon was really good, but I don't really trust him particularly. 9,400 for Julius Randle. We know he's going to get a lot of minutes. We know he's going to get almost a guarantee of 40. I like that salary's come down to that level. That looks pretty good. Pirtle's at 5,400. The worry I have there is the matchup, which can be tough at times against the Knicks. So I wouldn't be super into it. Same as the 7,000 for DeJounte. But the fact that salary is as low as it is gives me some level of interest. 4,700 for Lonnie Walker, I think is worth it with some 30, 35 point upside. Well, Derrick Rose at 64, he's been killing it. But the questionable tag makes us a little bit cautious there with using him. But again, there could be all the other guards out and him in, and a real chance for him to put up some huge numbers, because we know that Tom Thibodeau is definitely not going to go easy on him in terms of minutes. The next game that we take a look at is the Sacramento Kings. They are taking on the Memphis Grizzlies. Harrison Barnes is doubtful. Marvin Bagley is doubtful. De'Aaron Fox is out. Jonas Valanciunas is questionable. Jaren Jackson is back, and Grayson Allen is out. So we look at Chimezie Metu, 4,100 for Metu. He'll be a starter at power forward again. The last game he had 26 points, which is plenty at 4,100. If Valanciunas does play, I like him a lot at 8,100, while Sean Holmes at 6,900, probably a little bit too high, as is 82 for Ja Morant. Terrence Davis I like, but he is up at 5,900, so he's not an absolute bargain guarantee sort of player. Well, Delon Wright is all the way at 8,100, and fair enough. He's averaging 46 points over his last 5 games, which is obviously humongous. 79 for Buddy Hield looks pretty good to me. Buddy Hield's lowest score in his last 5 is 36, so that's a really, really safe floor for Bud. Yeah, so Delon's a pretty solid option there also. Denver and Minnesota. Monty Morris has reappeared as questionable on the injury report as he recovers from his hamstring injury that kept him out for all of those games. It isn't a back-to-back, so just curious to see that being the case. Will Barton is out again. The Nuggets are 6-point favorites, and the total is 235.5. JaMychal Green's at 3,600. He's playing 20 minutes a night, and he can be a 20-point per game guy. I'm not super into him, but it's not one to discount. I think Jokic is going to have a massive night against Towns. I love him at 11,000. While D'Angelo Russell at 78, he's dropping 40 a night and playing as the starter and playing big minutes. I like it. And then Anthony Edwards at 8,000 is probably just a little bit too far for me. Facu Campazzo at 5,800. I do think that works out, while Michael Porter's at 86. He's probably just a little bit on the high side. I like Towns at 10,000. I'd like it if it was 9.5, but I like him at 10,000 there, though he wouldn't be my first choice center to throw in there. Toronto taking on the Chicago Bulls. The Raptors have given up. They are resting everybody. No Van Vliet, Lowry, Boucher, Siakam, Anunoby. All of those guys are out, so just pick who you want to look at. Jalen Harris, sure. He's at 3,800, and he's put up some okay numbers the last 2 games. Let's have a look at his production there. 22 and 32. Oh, that's totally fine at 3,800. Is Yuta Watanabe going to get an opportunity at 3,900? Freddie Gillespie is the backup center behind Kem Birch at 3,600. Sure. Malachi Flynn at 5,700, but who the hell else is handling the ball apart from him and Trent? No worries. As for Trent, he's at 6,000. Of course, he can very easily shit the bed, so you want nothing to do with him in cash games. But he can be a 50-point guy. He can also be a 12-point guy. Levine's at 9,300. You feel confident with that one, while Vooch at 10,200 is probably just edging a little bit on the high side for me. Satoransky, Tyson, Troy Brown are all listed as questionable for Chicago, but really the value there lies in Toronto with all of those players out. The last game of the night is the Portland Trailblazers. They are taking on the Phoenix Suns. No Cam Johnson again, so Frank Kaminsky is going to be back in the rotation, unfortunately, but it means he's going to play minutes, and he's at 3,200. Kaminsky is averaging 19 points over the last 3, which is not a bad return at 3,200. Chris Paul at 8,000. Yeah, feel good about him getting 40, so that makes sense. Bridges at 58. The last couple have been a little bit off for him, so I'm not super in. DeAndre Ayton, just how can you trust it? You can't is the answer. And 72 for Yusuf Nurkic. I am in on that one. Love what Nurkic can do, and I don't expect a blowout, which is really the only way that his minutes get limited. 9-5 for Damian Lillard. The only caution I have is it is on a back-to-back. That's somewhat of a worry. While 7-9 for McCollum just feels like it is a little bit too high for me. Let's now flick over and have a look at all of the games and where some of the best value lies in those games. I think we're looking at Metu. We're looking at the Raptors guys, Watanabe and Harris, maybe Kaminsky, Freddie Gillespie, JaMychal Green, Valanciunas if he plays, Flynn, Jokic, Kyle Anderson, Ivica Zubac, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Chris Paul, Trae Young, Karis LeVert, RJ Barrett perhaps, but I'm not super sold on that. Julius Randle, John Collins, McCall Bridges maybe, Jimmy Butler, and Terrence Davis and Bogdan Bogdanovic. Guys, that'll do it for me today. Don't forget, thumbs up, notification bell, subscribe, and leave your comments down below. Find my channel as well in the description, Josh Lloyd Fantasy Basketball. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. See ya.